Welcome back to the PR Bunker podcast. In this episode, Beth Miller shares how creativity can be a powerful force for personal growth, professional development, and global impact. Drawing from her own story of resilience and her work with the Creative Education Foundation, Beth explores how creative problem solving helps individuals, organizations, and communities navigate challenges, unlock new ideas, and build meaningful change. It's a thoughtful conversation about mindset, innovation, and the very human ability to create better outcomes. And here's your host, Don Martelli.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the PR Bunker podcast. Here's your host, Don Martelli, down here in the bunker with my friend Beth Miller from the Creative Education Foundation. She and I met through just networking, and as a writer and somebody who comes from the newsroom world, anybody that lives in a world where words are a thing and they're important, and creativity and the story, which we'll get into in a second, I immediately gravitated towards, and from time to time, I'll ping Beth to have a conversation. But Beth, thank you for joining me down here in the PR Bunker.
It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me, Don.
So I always start these conversations off with just having my guests tell their story. Tell me about you, the organization, and its focus.
Great. So Creative Education Foundation is actually more than 70 years old, and it was founded by Alex Osborne, who's known as the man who invented brainstorming. Alex was an ad executive with BBDO. In fact, he was the O in BBDO, and he used to gather up the ad executives in back rooms and talk to them about how to create great content for Goodyear tires and things like that. And the more he talked to them, the more he realized if he followed a series of steps, he could get them to more creative ideas. So he wrote a book about it called Applied Imagination, and then he used the royalties from that book to start our nonprofit back in 1954, where he took his retirement years to train people in deliberate creativity, and specifically in creative problem solving. So that's what we still do to this day.
Love that. How long have you been with the organization?
So I am coming up on 11 years. It's the longest. That's the longest I've been anywhere,
Wow.
except my marriage, which is good.
There you go. What was the journey to get you there? What'd you do prior to that?
Oh, I did not have a smooth journey at all. So
None of us do, to be honest with you, Beth. Like,
no,
my entire career is a mistake because I hated math and I found myself in marketing. So
no,
I think it's the beauty of our journeys, right? It's not scripted. It's like the feather in Forrest Gump that just floats around. So what's your feather story?
yeah, exactly. So, well, I grew up in Connecticut, a small town
Okay.
called Rocky Hill, and
Okay.
I, like many first generation students, dreamed of going to college, and I got into Syracuse University, and a year and a half later, I failed out. I made a second attempt at college at Central Connecticut State University, where I was a walk-on for their Division I swim team. And I did well in the classes I liked and not so well in the classes I didn't like, and I ended up failing out of there as well. So part of my early struggles are based in a real event that happened in my life. When I was 16, my father died of a brain tumor. It was catastrophic for our family. We brought him home to hospice. My mom was a nurse, so she would take care of him all night after working all day at a nursing home. And 2 weeks before my father passed, I was assaulted. And I didn't tell anybody about that in my family. And I talk about it now just so other women know and young girls can get that support that these things happen and they can derail your life. So I wasn't equipped for college in part for being a first generation student, but also I was really deep in trauma and grief. And that made it very hard to navigate the whole college process as well. So when I failed out the second time, I'm like, well, that's it. I'm going to be a bartender, and I was a nanny for a while. The family I nannied for, however, had different plans for me. And after being with them for a couple of years, they're like, you got to go back to school. You're too smart. You got to go back to school.
Love that.
Trinity College in Hartford has an adult program. We want you to apply. And I did, and I got in. I started going to school at Trinity College as an adult student, started going full time. I was married in my first marriage at the time, not the one that's lasted. And it became very clear that I had to leave that marriage. It was emotionally abusive. It was physically abusive. But here I am. I'm 30 years old. I wasn't working because I was back in school, but an academic mentoring job was available to me, which came with a dorm room. So I, at age 30, moved into a first year dormitory at Trinity College.
Love that. That's great.
there's a book in it if I can find the time to
Go
write
ask
it.
Beth. She can buy us beer. She's over 21.
For real. For real. So we had like orientation in the dorm room, and it was like, so there were academic mentors and RAs like me who were all like of drinking age. I'm
Sure, sure,
significantly of
sure.
drinking age myself. And I remember them telling us like, this is a first year dormitory, you can't have alcohol in the room. And I raised my hand and I'm like, I am 30 years old, living with 18-year-olds, handling my own divorce. There will be alcohol in my
Yeah.
room. And they were fine with that. Like they would come by and check and just like check me off and give me a thumbs up while I'm toasting them with a glass of wine. So at any rate, so I went to Trinity, really challenging last year there to finish my degree, but I got through it and I thrived. And I also handled my own divorce. So I ended up graduating with a 3.82 cumulative grade point average,
Nice.
12th in my class.
Good for you.
I won 5 awards in leadership and writing. Actually, the writing project that won all the awards was turned into a play that we staged here in Boston in 2017 called An
Very cool.
Education in Prudence. And they asked me to teach English 101. So I went from homeless undergrad to member of the faculty in 1 year. I also got a call from the development office asking, they said, hey, we heard you're a good writer. Can you help us with grants? So I was teaching English 101 classes at Trinity College, and I was helping the Trinity College development office work on grants, mostly for the Learning Corridor, which is a big project they were working on at the time. And that started kind of a dual trajectory of my professional career that was in education and in nonprofit fundraising, which ultimately led me to this role. So I spent many years teaching English 101 at Trinity College, Southern Connecticut State University, and Quinnipiac University. And then I wanted health insurance. So I got a grant writing job, and then I climbed up through the ranks from as a grant writer to development director. And honestly, I had a lot of crappy bosses, and I thought, I think I can do better than that. So I made the switch from development director to executive director in this job at the Creative Education Foundation, where I've been for a decade now.
Wow, that's great. One,
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that part of the story.
Yeah.
The bravery and the emotion, all you could feel it as you're describing it. So thank you for sharing and being open to sharing that journey. And it's incredible that you've, gone through all that and the diversity to get you where you are today. And I'm sure it sort of still fuels you and drives that passion. So I can just feel it from you as you're describing your work there. I mean, what do you love about the job? And then two, talk about the impact that you and the organization is having on others through this experience that's been around for decades, but just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish I had creative problem solving a lot sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have failed out of college.
Yep.
I don't know. But I realize in looking back at that, and this is central to our work at CEF, is we're naturally creative. And even with all of the struggles I was having, and even without knowing that there were deliberate processes to kind of work through challenges, I was doing it. And that's kind of my most exciting moment when I see people learn creative problem solving for the first time. It's not that we've taught them something they don't know. It's that we give them language and explain the process and they realize, oh, I've been doing that. I am creative. And like that moment of connection and empowerment and agency, knowing that we are all naturally creative. If you're a grown ass adult that's gotten through the day, you've been creative at some point. You have to be creative. But what if you could harness that and be deliberately creative? And that's really the heartbeat of what we do at the Creative Education Foundation is affirming for everyone, you got this, it's in you, you can totally do it. And just like a muscle, you can work it out and make it stronger and make it more efficient and make it more effective. So helping people recognize their creative power is amazing. And the other thing that I love about it, like the trick question, the trick answer to everything we do is that creative problem solving is always the answer. So like whatever I do on the front end, it's fine because problem solving is going to be the answer. So the thing about creative problem solving is it can help you navigate your own world and you can bring it into the workplace, you can do it there, and you can manifest it globally. One of the things that I'm really excited about right now is that we've just acquired the World Creativity and Innovation Week project, which is a global creativity movement that celebrates deliberate creativity practice in the month of April. Creativity Week starts on April 15th, which is Da Vinci's birthday, and goes through April 21st, but we kind of celebrate, all month and
Yeah,
all year.
sure.
But that's kind of the boundaries for that. And what I love about that is the opportunity that we have to take our methodology and practice and the mindset with that and really bring it onto a global scale to really help invest more and more people with the knowledge that they are creative and that they can do more. So that makes me incredibly excited. When you practice creativity, it helps you to know yourself in a really powerful way. So it helps you really reflect on, how am I showing up to this challenging situation? Am I shutting down? Am I rushing to conclusions? Am I shutting down input from other people? You're able to kind of start reflecting on, am I deferring judgment? Am I really pushing myself to come up with new ideas? Am I polishing these ideas? Am I having too many ideas and not winnowing it down? When you start thinking about that, you start thinking about how you are in the world, and it allows you to self-reflect and kind of get better and get into a growth mindset, get back to your curious self, get back to your listening self in a way that doesn't make you feel ashamed or immobilized. At the same time, it forces you to be more compassionate with how other people are showing up to a challenging problem. If they're asking so many questions you can't get to a conclusion, or if they're saying, no, we can't do that, or we tried that before, all those things that shut off creativity, when you understand how creative mindset works and how creative problem solving works, you understand why that person is showing up that way, and you have the skills to kind of get on the same page. So that self-awareness, deepened compassion for others sets the stage for effective partnership, effective collaboration. And I think that's the foundation before even getting to the tools and the nifty things you can do and invent. That human connection and that ability to understand yourself and understand others is something we need more than ever in the world right now.
I agree, 1,000%. Well said. I think as a world, we're so callous with marketing and messaging these days that you don't know until you get into the experience that you've realized what they're saying is delivered. So, what are some of those perceptions of when people read about CEF and they hear you on this podcast and others, like, oh, it all sounds good, but marketing people do marketing things, right? So, but from our conversations, I know that you all deliver. But like, what are some of those things where there's a perception going into a program and there's realization, but like, what are those things that you really can't market to, but when they get through a program, they're like, something has unlocked. And
Yeah.
nonprofits are unlocking a lot of things. And I think in your particular case, I could see myself applying this to my business, to my work with Alignable, to my work with just generally with my friends and my colleagues and my wife and my kids. There's always facing problems. So what are those things that people hear, read, see, but don't realize until they get into the experience and like, oh, it like the light bulb turns on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. I think a lot of times people hear like creativity, oh, that's cute. Like
What are we
it's
doing?
not.
Figure paints and puppies and
Yeah,
kittens and all, yeah.
macrame, like nothing against macrame. So yeah, people are like, well, that would be a nice to have. I think they don't really see it as a critical to have, and it really is. And the other tricky marketing piece for creativity is that when you're applying deliberate creativity to a challenge, you don't actually ever have a crisis. Like if you're regularly applying it, you're just going to move through challenges gracefully, and you're going to get to solutions, and everyone's going to be regulated. And that's not sexy, right? It's just everything's just going really well. So when people are really applying it, there isn't a crisis situation. So the value of our work can often be invisible because it just makes you better at doing all the things. We just actually concluded our Florida Creativity Conference in Sarasota at the Ringling College of Art and Design. Beautiful space for us. Yeah.
How'd it go?
And it was great. It was fantastic. And it always is. I try to get good testimonials from my people, and I'm like, what did you love? And they're like, I love the people. And I'm like, all right, that's a crap testimonial. You got to come on, do better.
Who else?
So, but it's true. Like, and what happens is we create a special environment that I fiercely protect. And I'm not going to say it's a safe space. It's a brave space. It's a space where we invite you in and require you to be in a growth mindset in community with a bunch of strangers. And because we have a very carefully constructed environment, people get deep really fast and they connect really quickly and they do feel safe. And there was a corporate leader who attended this year. He works for a company, Playworks, that builds really innovative playgrounds and things all around the world. And at the closing event, we were asking, for people to say what they wanted to say. And he said, I never have been in an environment where I can go up to anybody and share ideas and have meaningful conversations and know that the person I'm talking to is going to be in a growth mindset just like me, and that they're going to be excited to talk to me, and that I'm going to just feel so full of ideas that I can enact, or just inspired by, my agency. And he said the other thing was really nice to get a break from the news cycle. And this is a really good place to do that.
Love that. Absolutely
Yeah,
love that one because the news cycle is
yeah.
horrendous these days.
That's right. That's
Horrendous.
right. Right. Well, and we like, charge people up so they can go out in the world and you start feeling like, okay, well, I'm not helpless in this world right now. There are things that I can do and you're recharged to do that. So, and that's all a little amorphous. I have like a more concrete example is someone that we trained at our Creative Problem Solving Institute, which we affectionately call SIPSI. That's kind of our big show every June. And we hold that in Buffalo, which is where Alex is from. So I'm bringing it home. We trained someone in creative problem solving at a past SIPSI who brought creative problem solving training back to his company in Florida, a manufacturing company, and started training the men and women who worked on the shop floor in creative problem solving. So just like, Google or one of the big tech companies, they would meet weekly and in groups and work on ideas. But it wasn't from the top down. It wasn't the C-suite folks working on ideas. It was the people that turn the wrenches. So by working with the mechanics and the folks on the shop floor, and using their ideas at the business, in 1 year, they saved the company $1.4 million and they saved the workers 600,000 continuous strength movement. So that's literally like the number of times you turn a wrench and things like that.
Sure. Wow.
They saved money. They made the workplace safer, made it more efficient. And ideas like this toolbox should be over here, or we should put it on wheels, or things like that. The other result of this was that they started really creating community, so it wasn't like a competition to have the best idea. When anyone had a great idea, everyone celebrated, and that changed the whole culture. So they started doing charitable giving and community picnics and all this other stuff. So there are real tangible results for creative problem solving. I would say in the short term, if you come to one of our conferences or do one of our workshops, you're going to feel like you have agency. You're going to know that you can absolutely handle any complex problem. You've got the tools and skills to do it. You have the courage to navigate ambiguity. You're going to be recharged and you're going to be eager to solve those problems instead of afraid of them.
Love it.
In the real world, it can really save you money and make better processes and improve your relationships.
Yeah, considering a world where everything is complicated these days, AI is
Yeah.
everywhere, information
Yeah.
overload, tools to do everything. Got tools that manage tools that manage tools, and sometimes it just takes some brain power and some caffeine and creativity to unlock these things. But it sounds like the methodology and the process you can unlock those that are in that kind of blue collar space to folks that are in the more professional.
Right.
So seems like your audience for this experience is pretty eclectic, right? So the different types
Yeah.
of intentions. Yeah. So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, our work is very agnostic, which makes it really hard to market. So when you go out and say it's for everyone, that's yeah, it's true. Also, terrible marketing message. So we're working on that, but it really is. And actually, part of what's really rich about our conferences is that you could be learning creative problem solving with a CFO, a kindergarten art teacher, and a nonprofit fundraiser. And the combination of just unique people really is part of what makes the experience incredibly rich.
I can see that.
So it really is for everybody. We are gonna be doing some specific like segmented trainings like creative problem solving for manufacturing. We can offer that as well. But when we train people in creative problem solving, we're not coming to you as an expert in manufacturing or marketing or finance. You all are the experts on the thing you do. What we do is create the space for you to get through the busyness and the static of the day to day so you can get to your real creative ideas. We help you unlock that piece. So it really is for everybody. And we do kind of celebrate that it is for everybody.
Neat.
And I think I've been actually leaning in. I mean, for years, we're like, we have to make sure people know like this is a hard skill and the hard results they can get out of it and what's the metrics and all that. And we can do that. But the truth is, right now, we can lean into the other piece of it, which is we create really great community and we help people reconnect with their own humanity and the humanity of others. Creative problem solving strips everything away and brings you back to that kind of childlike wonder and curiosity and openness to experience. And I think that's really needed in the world right now. So we're kind of leaning into come to the Creative Problem Solving Institute, cpsiconference.com. Come to that. You're going to learn real skills that you can bring to your family, to your business, and you're going to step out of this kind of chaotic world for a little while and not only feel cared for, not only feel connected to other human beings, you're going to feel like you are empowered and have agency to tackle the big challenges that we face in the world today.
That's great. Clearly, you know, challenges in the world's one thing, but nonprofits are going through challenges themselves, right? Raising
Yeah.
dollars, getting attention. I mean, what do you, clearly you've been around for a little bit,
Yeah.
and you've gone through cycles.
What do you mean?
Yeah, yeah. But not just you, but I mean, clearly the world, right? And like, I think your story parallels what's going on with creativity and solving problems. So I think I love that the parallel connection between the two. But between lack of funding, what's going on in the federal government, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And how do you all still maintain this push and drive and success in a world that's just like totally disrespecting nonprofits overall? There's
Yeah.
folks out there clearly that support you, but what's that like as an ED, as somebody who's carrying that flag to the war zone? What are the
Yeah.
challenges you're facing?
Yeah, it's really challenging. It's a really tough world out there for nonprofits. Creative Education Foundation's always been a little unique in that most of our income is earned income. So registrations for the conferences, royalties from our Journal of Creative Behavior, but with diminishing professional development dollars at corporations, our registrations have been dropping. There's less money for sponsorships, less money for a lot of things. Luckily, we don't get any grants, so like we couldn't lose that, but that's not something we can fall back on either. So we've had to use our own process to come up with other strategies as we watch the drop in conference attendance. I was actually just having a strategic call today that we're exploring ways to do smaller events. So how can we be spry in this current environment? I'm also having conversations with groups of nonprofits, both leaders and funders, about how we might apply creative problem solving to the sector in general to look at increased efficiency and sustainability within the sector. And it's very hard to have those conversations because people instantly worry about their jobs and worry about their pet project, dissolving. And I think there are other solutions in the sector, but there are a lot of folks in the nonprofit sector doing similar work, and we're not able to sustain ourselves. And I think that I think this crisis situation we're in is going to make us look really hard at that ways to collaborate, work together, be more efficient. Us acquiring World Creativity and Innovation Week, we acquired the Florida Creativity Conference. And I don't like we're this big bad wolf out there like gobbling up organizations. It's not that. These are folks that were very closely aligned in mission that knew they didn't have the infrastructure to continue. So, we got together and had conversations. Well, how can we make this work for everybody? And that's what we're doing. I think nonprofits have to find a way to be courageous in this really, really scary time of, lack and think about how we can do more with what we have. And in general, I think that's the really, I don't even know what word to ascribe to it, but the things that we're facing in the world today in the nonprofit sector and across the boards is we're really seeing how things have been working and how not great those things are. And we are forced to face that and find new solutions for everything, for the world, for the sector, all of it. Um, it would be amazing to have, a really robust, fully funded nonprofit sector. We're on the front lines of society's most critical issues, and we're overworked and under-resourced and undervalued. That's a problem. And unfortunately, a lot of nonprofits are really going to struggle right now for lack of funding, but there's going to be a real need to reinvent. And I think a lot of other organizations are starting to, or the for-profit world is really starting to see how much value the nonprofit sector brings, whether it's after school programs, educational programs, our cultural institutions, homelessness, you name it. We are on the front lines of the most critical issues in the world, and we need to find a way to be more sustainable.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's kind of the reason why a lot of my work is with mission driven and impact focused organizations, because somebody's got to carry that flag through the war zone.
That's
It's
right.
all who's better than a fast talking Bostonian from Revere who went through a brick wall. But
You're built
so
for it. You're built
yeah,
for it.
built for that. Not maybe not speed, but built for that. But so what's next? And clearly, you've created some synergies with new organizations being folded into yours,
Yep.
but conferences. But what's next for you, the organization, scale 26? What's it look like?
So I want to scale. I want to bring this globally. I want to have global partnerships. I would love to see our SIPSI conference go global, to have pop-up SIPSI conferences around the world where people can gather and do this work. We are very low tech, post-it notes and magic markers, all we need. There's fancy stuff like Miro boards. We can do that too, but it's very low tech. Creative problem solving is very analog and easy to use. So figuring out this World Creativity and Innovation Project and all the potential there is front of mind for me. We'll be celebrating again this April. You can find information on wciw.org about global celebrations for creativity. But I'm going to be working to really leverage those global relationships to create more sustainability, not only for our partner organizations around the world, but for the Creative Education Foundation so we can expand our reach. As I mentioned before, we also have our Creative Problem Solving Institute coming up. It's, again, we call it CPSI. You can find it at cpsiconference.com. And that conference is our crown jewel. It's where everybody gathers to learn creative problem solving, to share the skills that they have in other creativity disciplines. You'll see design thinking, you'll see agile, lean, mashups of all kinds of different things, how to do, your disc profile, like all kinds of things that just really help you with your personal and professional development. More importantly, you're going to meet an amazing creativity community and an incredible network of people that are, again, across industries. So it's just a very rich networking environment as well. So making sure that we get the butts and seats for CPSI is kind of a short-term goal, but also figuring out how do we scale that experience and that conference globally is what's on my mind.
That's great. Well, it sounds like a lot on the plate, but something tells
Yeah.
me you're ready to tackle it and run through that brick wall as we just talked about. So if people want to connect with you, learn more about
Mhm.
CEF, everything you got going on, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can check us out on our organizational website. It's creativeeducationfoundation.org. The whole thing all spelled out. Yes, there are two E's in the middle. Creativeeducationfoundation.org. You can contact me through that website. You also see our offerings beyond Creative Problem Solving Institute and the Florida Creativity Conference. We do regular free programs every month. We also have a CEF TV on YouTube. You can see some of our free videos with CPS training. So a ton of resources out there available for free, but you can also reach out to me through the website if you're interested in learning more about our conferences. I would love some sponsorships. If you want to throw some money at me, I will take it.
Bring that
Um,
cash. Bring the cash. Bring the checkbook. Bring it.
if you want to learn creativity stuff, if you want to learn more about World Creativity and Innovation Week, just shoot me a line through the website and we can talk.
That's awesome. Well, the beauty of this is that, to your point earlier, whether you're a nonprofit, tech startup, in education,
That's right.
solopreneur, we all have problems. And
That's right.
sometimes you either bang your head against the wall or you have to get creative in solving these things, whether they're personally or professional. And sometimes it bleeds into both. Anybody out here listening that's currently faced with a blocker that they can't get unblocked, my gal Beth Miller and a team could
We got you.
help you unlock that in a variety of ways, just through old school sticky notes and erase markers, which is fantastic. So good stuff. All right, so Beth, thank you for joining me on the PR Bunker podcast. It's been a pleasure to get to know you as we've built our relationship and learning more about CEF. I just love where it's going, just because creativity is needed in this world, and I appreciate you sharing your story, fighting the good fight, and sticking with it, and be like, what's the next 70 years going to look like? I love it.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, Don. This is great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the PR Bunker podcast, where we go beyond the headlines and into the trenches with founders, builders, and operators making real moves. This show is brought to you by the PR Bunker, a strategic communications agency helping mission-driven and impact-focused organizations cut through the noise and tell stories that matter. Want to learn more? Head to prbunker.com and subscribe to the Bunker Briefing, our monthly email newsletter packed with a 45-second read that's stacked with value. We're talking practical PR and communications insights, networking tips, and strategies to help you navigate the moments that matter. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We've got more raw, real conversations on the way. So stay locked in. Until next time, keep building, stay resilient, and remember, momentum favors the